All right, good morning, KW Milwaukee on Tuesday, December 7th. Hopefully everybody is having a phenomenal start to a 9-degree Tuesday. Ironically, my car door froze shut this morning, so I had to jimmy my way in. But anyways, I hope everybody's having a great start to your Tuesday. Let's get started. I have some good things for you. One thing I want to do lead off. We're very, very fortunate. Next week, I want to put a plug in right now. Next week, Tuesday, December 14th, for our 9 a.m. team meeting, we actually have a special guest, and it's Sarah Oberbrunner's brother. Sarah's brother is a very accomplished author. He's a coach, mentor. He coaches many CEOs and high levels executives across the country. He's spoken to our group before. And his content next week, December 14th, as we head into the holidays, is all going to be around seek to be valuable, not visible. Right? So Carrie's going to be jumping on. Big shout out to Sarah for helping us secure her brother about once to twice a year to come in to pour into our group. But next week, December 14th, feel free to share it, the Zoom link, with any of your friends, family, or anybody that you think would benefit from the conversation. Carrie's going to jump on to have a conversation with me all around seek to be valuable and not visible. Cool. So that's next week, Tuesday team meeting. One other thing, I want to give a big shout out to two people in particular. And I hope everybody who was able to attend that wanted to last week, Friday, at the holiday party at Vista. I want to give a big shout out to a handful of people. And what you guys don't know is that we were originally intended to go to Punch Bowl Social, and the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, Punch Bowl Social called us and said, yeah, we can't host your party of 400, roughly a week before the holiday party. And so we called in some favors, and we were able to pull off a wedding of 400 in about a week. We secured the venue on Monday. We secured the caterer on Tuesday, and the decorations came together Wednesday, Thursday for the Friday event. So hopefully you all enjoyed it. I thought it was a great time. It was so good to see so many people. I do want to give a big special shout out to both Britt and Keck out in Lake Country and Cindy Warner here in the North Shore, who helped us pull off an incredible event that had a lot of people, had a lot of fun, and hopefully by now some of you have recovered from the evening that you had on Friday evening, but it was a ton of fun. I also want to give a shout out, guys. I call it a wedding because it truly is a big celebration of you guys and your success, and it is, in my opinion, the equivalent of a wedding when you host a party for 400. But that event doesn't happen without the support of a ton of people who are here to support our businesses every day. The group from Focus Title, Brian Kloop, Blake Early from Fairway, Brad Tyndall with A+ Mortgage, Scott Halverson with A+, the guys at Bank of England, RWS, Ein, Camo Crew, Mark Henry with Integrated Home Inspection Services, Shutter Zone Media. They're all willing to pour into you guys to make sure that we celebrate you in a big way, and that we have a great holiday party. And so my ask of you is, if you work with one of these service providers or one of our vendor partners, if you would do me a favor and shoot them an email or shoot them a text, or next time you see them, give them a big hug and say thank you for their support of our business. We very much appreciate partners who view the partnership as mutually beneficial. So a big shout out to all the people that help us pull that off, from Sydney and Britt all the way down to our vendor partners. It is a ton of work to make sure that everyone has a ton of fun. So I hope everybody enjoyed Friday evening, and that we will look to have more events like that, hopefully, as we get into 2022. Cool. Awesome. All right. Also, I'm going to have Maureen jump on, because last week, Maureen pulled off a Bold 100 on Wednesday afternoon. And for those of you in the Bold room, she kind of talked about her Bold 100 and the impacts to it. And for those of you who don't know what a Bold 100 is, she took her entire day on Wednesday to lead generate, to have 100 conversations about real estate with 100 different people. So Maureen, what were the impacts of your Bold 100, and what do these guys need to know?
Hey, good morning. Okay, so some of you know what a Bold 100 is, as Charlie just described, and have said I would never ever do that. I was one of those people for 8 years. I've taken Bold and said, Not a chance would I ever do a bold 100. I don't have it in me to have 100 conversations of real estate, because I'm seeing agents that were taking 8, 10, 12 hours to get their contacts in. But I have this great team leader in bold, Josh DeZor, and he challenged all of us to do a bold 100 together. And I didn't want to disappoint him. So I thought, all right, I'll show up, but I'll probably do some other things and get some other things done through the course of the day and make some phone calls. But that morning I woke up and I said to my husband, I'm doing a bold 100 today. I'm actually going to do it. And I found every excuse in the book for the 3 days prior not to do it. Oh, I had reasons. I was supposed to go to Austin, all these reasons. But for some reason, things were getting in the way. And that day kept opening up and opening up. And I thought, dang it. Okay, I'm going to do a bold 100. I got in the room and I got there at about 7:15 in the morning. And by the time the rest of the group showed up, I had 15 conversations under my belt. Well, not 15. I think it was like 10 under my belt. And I thought, well, this isn't so hard. I had my notebook, my computer, my phone, my list of people I was going to call, and water bottles. I was set for the day. And I thought, you know what? For these agents who've been in the business for 10 plus years, we probably have about 50 to 75 conversations a day, right? So if you have 50 to 75 conversations a day, that's around real estate, and that includes going to the grocery store. If you were intentional about it and you sat down and you started making phone calls that were, just how you're doing phone calls, checking in on your day, checking in on life and the holidays. And there's a couple different topics I chose. Some of them were phone calls, some of them were text, some of them were emails. I tracked all of it. And by the end of the day, I finished at about just before 5 o'clock in the middle of a Gary Keller Zoom meeting that I had and an investor meeting that I had. I still got it done. And I had this aha. For those of us that have been in the business for more than 10 years, this is actually what we do every day. This is part of our lifestyle. We talk about this being part of our lifestyle, this business. Well, it proved itself that day. It is a lifestyle. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to go to Bold tomorrow. This was last week. And I'm going to talk to the group about this. And I'm going to invite our top producers that are in the Bold room to do a Bold 100 with me tomorrow. We've got Andy Stillman, Natasha Duvall, Jonathan Newby, Lindsay Bever, Sarah Reardon, Martha Ola, Willie Stelle, sorry. And anybody else who wants to join us, whether you're in Bold or you're not in Bold. Last week we had an agent out in Lake Country who decided to join us, and she's not in Bold. I mean, it just helps you activate your business for 2022. And so I would encourage anyone inside of Bold or outside of Bold to meet the North Shore office tomorrow and do a Bold 100 with this group. This group is pumped. We all got a text this morning from Jonathan Newby saying, are we ready for tomorrow? If you can imagine Jonathan Newby doing a Bold 100 again, he did it once and it about killed him, but that was in the beginning of his career. Now he's like, you know what? I can do this. So I encourage you guys to join us tomorrow. We'd love to have you. North Shore office tomorrow morning. We'll be there by 8 a.m. and lunch will be provided for those that attend. All right. Thanks, Charlie.
So guys, here's what I want to challenge you to think about as you think about, Bold 100 can be overwhelming, and it's contacting 100 people in one day. Have meaningful, intentional, and purposeful conversations around real estate. And I ask this question of people all the time when they think of something that's too big to accomplish within a day. How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. How do you do a Bold 100? One phone call, one text, one email, one Facebook DM at a time, right? And if you think about it, some of you, and I truly firmly believe this, the reason why 20% of the industry does 80% of the volume, because that 20% knows how to flex their lead generation muscle better than the other 80%. And if you think about it, when is the gym the busiest time of year? January 1st. And if you're going to hit the gym on January 1st, you're not going to go in and bench press 225 pounds on day one, right? You'll probably start at 50 pounds and work your way up. It's the same thing with lead generation and flexing that muscle. The last thing I'll leave you with as it relates to thinking about lead generation and planting a seed for you is, when was the last time any service provider that you work with called you to check in on you to see how you're doing, to develop and foster and curate that relationship? What do I mean? When was the last time you heard from your dentist? When was the last time you heard from your accountant? When was the last time you heard from your attorney? When was the last time you heard from your car mechanic? When was the last time you heard from, I don't know, your Sendix grocery bagger? Everybody in life provides a service, but so few are willing to curate the relationship that we're able to develop through the process of helping people buy and sell homes. It's a great activity for you to flex that muscle tomorrow, and then flex that muscle to build it forward as you head into 2022 and think about your lead generation style to build your business for a great year in 2022. So I would challenge you to think about it. If you need help or you need support, it's a great group to do a Bold 100 with, or to think about the way in which you approach your lead generation in 2022. Cool. All right. With that, I'm actually going to flip it over to Lindsay Vranick, and Lindsay has some exciting information for the group as it relates to the Command app and Command Mobile that just came live. So Lindsay, what do these guys need to know as it relates to the app that just came live so soon?
Yes. Hey, good morning, everyone. So if you haven't heard, the KW Command app was released last week. And so it's available for both iPhones and Android in the App Store or the Google Play Store. So you guys, this is an awesome app to be able to use on the go. So you can manage your entire database and your tasks when you're walking to Starbucks, making calls. If you're doing that Bold 100 tomorrow and you need a coffee break, you don't have to stop. You have the Command app. You can call and text people directly from the app now from your database. One of the great things about this app that I love personally is that the moment that you text somebody or you call somebody through the app, it's automatically going to ask you, do you want to log this activity? And so you can enter those notes. Did you leave a voicemail? What did you text them about? What was the conversation about? All of those notes are going to get added as that activity into that contact in your database. You also have the ability to add a contact from your database directly to your phone contacts. So maybe you never added them in your phone, you just added them directly to your database and you want them in your phone contacts, you have that ability to do so. You can also share the consumer app with a contact from this app as well. It's going to give you suggestions on who to contact in that main screen, that dashboard that you see on the screen here. So any new lead, any leads that you haven't contacted, any recently active contacts on your app or your website are going to show up on that dashboard. If you have any birthdays or home anniversaries in the next 30 days that you entered for contacts, that's also going to show up in there. Profit share, it's going to show you what you made in profit share in the last month. And then you're also going to receive notifications. So if you had a commission rejected or approved, you're going to get notifications from this app. If you received any leads from your agent website, and if you receive text back from a contact through your Twilio account, you're also going to receive those notifications. And there's so much more, you guys. So if you haven't downloaded this already, please do so. You'll log in with your same command credentials, but go into the App Store, go into the Google Play Store, download this app. It's an excellent tool to use for your business. So I don't know, Charlie, if you want to show that video, it's going to kind of go through it a little bit more in detail. Bethany, I see your question. Yes, basically this is replacing Kelly. I would still keep the Kelly app on your phone while they work through some other notifications. And you guys, obviously, they are going to be adding some more content and applets that are part of this app. So they're just starting out with really contacts and tasks. But eventually opportunities will be in there, and you'll be able to manage more and more that you can do in command on your phone using this app.
So guys, this is as we talk about integrating your platforms and we look at what does it mean to have an integrated platform through the mobile connection, through command, and have everything you need right at the fingertips. It's another great adoption to the command platform. And again, what do I say? What is the best CRM? The one you use on a daily basis. So don't overthink it, guys. Get in the practice of helping manage your life and your business, and it will show up in your income. So there you go. Command mobile app's out now. One last thing too. This is highly likely the last time that you will see Lindsay Vranick for about 12 weeks, as Lindsay is set to go on maternity leave. So we have a great stable of people that are going to be supporting Lindsay or supporting our group in the background. One of them being Brad Yates, Sydney, Megan Casey, Britton. The team has started group coaching calls with Marty Miller that Lindsay had before. So anything related to tech marketing, whatever you may need, Brad, Sydney, Megan Casey, Britt, they're all here to serve you while Lindsay is gone for the next 12 weeks. And we are praying and hoping for a healthy baby and welcoming into the Vranick family. So stay tuned for more news to come for Lindsay. Thanks, Lindsay. All right, guys. So following up from last week, right, or from following up on Maureen's conversation around the Bold 100, how do you define and measure success is something that I talk about frequently. And we talk about two different metrics that where the industry challenges themselves in the sense of what they define as success, right? And if you think about it, we've talked about this before. There are lead metrics in this business and there are lag metrics. And the problem is 90% of the industry defines success based on what? Closed dollar volume and GCI. What's the problem with closed dollar volume and GCI? What is it not indicative to? Future success, right? Future success. And so one of the things that I want to challenge this group on as we head into the holiday season and thinking about looking into the first quarter of 2022 is, are you measuring your lead metrics versus your lag metrics? And are you looking at it on a quarterly basis to understand, are you creating a balanced approach to your business? Or are you looking at it in a way in which it drives you nuts because you have to work your tail off in the second and third quarter to make up for the bad first quarter you have. And then by the time the third quarter is done, that you're so burnt out, you take off from essentially November 1st through the end of the year and you start the cycle all over again. Many of you do that, and it's a cycle that needs to get broken. And so I want to plant some seeds into your brains today to look at our top 3 teams and how their business relates to their lead metrics based on quarter versus the peer group. And you're going to find some trends here that you'll find very, very interesting. So let's take a look at this. First quarter, second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter. For those of you who don't know what I mean, and we've talked about this within the energy dial, it's 3-month cycles that in most businesses, they look at it on a quarterly basis, as you should too, right? And again, I would challenge you to think about your lead metrics, not your lag metrics. So let's take a look at this. And there are 2 lead metrics that you should be paying attention to on a monthly basis that'll help define or create indicative to success for future income. What do I mean by that? The first one is listings taken. Why? Directly, you're going to get paid as long as you take a listing and you facilitate and do your fiduciary at the highest level, you'll close a deal. The other thing about listings is listings have what? Babies. And for every listing you take, how many babies should you develop?
2, minimum 2.
2. 1 referral and 1 direct lead from a buyer that you source from your listings. So think about that as it relates to in 2022, what are your lead metrics as it relates to listings taken? And are you tracking your measure of success based on how many babies you're developed through your marketing strategy and market implementation to help you sell your listings? Second one, as it relates to lead metrics, is contracts written for the buyers that you are working with. Why? You may have to, because it's an indicator that you are in the market actively working your business. Contracts written lead to future income. Now, the problem is the industry measures success and measures their results based on lag metrics. And the one lag metric that we're going to look at today is gross commission income, GCI, right? So if you look at GCI, what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at the lead metrics across all of KW Milwaukee. We're going to break this down by quarter so that you can see the way that the business breaks down across the essentially our group for KW, and then how it leads to the lag metrics and where it shows up in income. Then I'm going to show you a comparison against our top 3 teams to show you how they underperform in certain quarters and overperform in other quarters to create a balanced approach to their income. So if you look at it from a lead metric standpoint, listings taken and contracts written for the group, 19% of the listings taken happen right now in the fourth quarter, 22% of the annual contracts written, and it leads to about 23% of the GCI happens in the fourth quarter. Interestingly, though, as we come in, everybody, because they're running on a treadmill so fast in the fourth quarter and they give up a little bit in the fourth quarter as it relates to their lead generation statistics, they have a hangover after the holidays. And the hangover lasts because listings taken dips. 19% of the annual listings taken happens in the first quarter. 20% of the contracts written happen in the first quarter, but only 17% of the GCI happens in the first quarter. Okay, the first quarter, just right, equals hangover because too many people take off in the fourth quarter. So their lead metrics don't show up to their lag metrics in the first quarter. Now, what happens here is if you look in the second and third quarter, and we've talked about this before as it relates to the energy dial, momentum is going to carry you forward as it relates to the second quarter and third quarter. So 30% of the listings taken happen in Q2, 29% of the contracts written, and it leads to 30% of the GCI. Now, very similar story as it relates to quarter 3. 32% of the listings taken, 30% of the contracts written, 30% of the GCI. What do you notice about this as it relates to the group and their lead metrics and lag metrics? I'll tell you, too many people rely on the second and third quarter for their incomes, which is why you feel like you're running on a treadmill all year. And then the fourth quarter, you feel like you have to slow down, which leads to your hangover in the first quarter. You feel me? So my challenge to you is how do you not create the burnout during the second and third quarter when theoretically you should be enjoying your time with friends and family during the summer months when it's, 75 degrees and sunny, but everybody feels as if they can't get off the treadmill during the second and third quarter because they didn't set themselves up for the first quarter, right? So now let's take a look at how some of our biggest teams approach this as it relates to the same thing. First, we're going to lead with our number 1 team across KW and in the market, the Schmidt Group, right? Take a look at this. 20%, they take 20% of their overall annual listings in the fourth quarter. They write 20% of their average or their contracts, and they make 24% of their total GCI happens in the fourth quarter. That's pretty balanced. Second, let's take a look at the first quarter. First quarter is probably, if I was coaching JSG as a total group or an entity, is where they have room for improvement, right? First quarter, they have a little bit of a lag where they have 14% of their listings taken on an annual basis, 19% of their contracts, and 13% of their GCI, okay? Jump forward into Q2, 27% of their listings taken, 28% of their contracts, 34% of their GCI happens there. And then if you look here in Q3, they over-index in Q3, so they have 36% of their listings taken, 33% of their contracts written, and 29% of their GCI. What I would point out to you, though, is 3 of the 4 quarters, they have a very balanced approach to their business, okay? First quarter, there's some room for improvement across the team, but in general, it's really solid, and they know, if anything, the one thing I would challenge you, and I know this about Jay and Janine and the way in which they push their team, they crush the fourth quarter because they're always looking, usually in October, they start a program called 90 listings in 90 days, right? And so the reason why you see some of these pushes in the fourth quarter that are so strong and they over-index on their market share in the fourth quarter is they are very intentional and purposeful about their fourth quarter to make sure they close their year out strong. Now, let's take a look at the next group. Number 2, Falk Groove and Gallagher. Let's take a look here. Listings taken, very similar story. 23% in the fourth quarter, 20% of the contracts written, 23% of their GCI. When you look at it again in the first quarter, 17% of the listings taken, 19% of their contracts written, and 16% of their annual income comes in the first quarter. Then again, This is where you're going to see a little bit more of a balanced approach. 32% of their listings taken, 34% of their contracts written, 28% of the GCI shows up in the second quarter. And then you can see here as it relates to the third quarter and the balanced approach it takes. Again, they aren't on a treadmill in the second and third quarter because they have a very balanced approach. They see dips in the first quarter just like everyone else. And I will tell you, based on the first two teams, it's something that's in a room of opportunity, and they know this, right? To create a more balanced first quarter, which is why they're driving hard to finish the year on their lead metrics to drive listings taken, contracts written, and GCI in the first quarter. Now, last team I'll use as an example, Stale Realty Group, the third largest team. Let's take a look at their balanced approach. Same thing, listings taken 25%, contracts written 23%. It leads to 20% of their annual GCI. Again, they see a little bit of a dip in the first quarter as it relates to their GCI, but strong listings taken and contracts written. It's going to lead to future income. If you look in the second quarter, 40% of their listings taken, in my opinion, that's a little high over index, but it's solid for the second quarter. It means they worked really hard in the first quarter to get their listings taken, their contracts written, and GCI as follows. Now, when you overlay this with the market in all three teams, here's what you're going to see. The green metrics are FRG, the purple metrics are SRG, and the orange metrics are JSG. Okay, here's what you're going to see. What I did was I put the market on top in the black metrics. So listings taken as a market, 19% happens in the fourth quarter, 19% happens in the first quarter, 62% of the listings happen in Q2 and Q3. Okay, now when you overlay the top teams, what you see is they under index in Q3 and Q2 as it relates to listings taken, and they over index in Q4 and Q1. A balanced approach. Let's take a look at our next lead metric, right? Contracts written, same thing. The market, 22%, 20% in the fourth quarter and first quarter, and you see roughly 59% of the annual happens between Q2 and Q3 for the market. What do you see for the top three teams? They over-index in the fourth quarter and the first quarter, and they under-index in the Q2 and Q3. Under-indexing in Q2 and Q3, in my opinion, is healthy because they have a balanced approach when they look at their fourth quarter and first quarter. And then how does this correlate to their income so that they can create a balanced income and they're not rubbing two nickels to make a dime at Christmas time to pay their Christmas bills or holiday bills for gifts for everybody? Is here's what you see. Same thing. A very balanced approach where they under-index in Q2 and Q3 and over-index in Q4 and Q1. So the reason why I bring this up today, and as it leads to kind of some of the conversation that Maureen had around the Bold 100, is the top teams. The reason why the top teams separate themselves from the market is they take market share in Q4 and Q1. And the market share that they take in Q4 and Q1 carries them forward into Q2 and Q3. And that when 60% of the business is being had in Q2 and Q3, they're getting more than their fair share because they set it up in Q4 and Q1. So my challenge to you sitting here on December 7th is, I get it. We felt like we've been on this treadmill now for 2 years, and I've talked about this a lot, is that you have to stay focused on your lead metrics and what you're doing from a lead generation standpoint to set yourself up to mitigate your hangover in the first quarter. Because here's what I know, if you miss your first quarter, there isn't enough business on the backside in Q4 to make it up. So take a balanced approach to your business. Make sure that you're continuing to do the right activities that will lead to future income, and you'll be able to mitigate the hangover in the first quarter and set yourself up for a great 2022. Sound good? I'll send this out in the insights and resources email, and Deej will send this out to the Lake Country crew too, so that you guys can take a look at this as it relates to how the top teams create a balanced approach so they have income coming in all 4 quarters, and they're not over-indexing their business when the business is being had in Q2 and Q3. Make sense? Questions, comments, concerns, or you need help looking at your business in this way, feel free to reach out. A great tool to utilize if you've never looked at your business in this way is a tool called the Multi-Year Trends Report, which gives you every single statistical measure or metric that you would possibly need as it relates to your business. And you can build that then a business plan to help create a balanced approach in 2022. Cool? Multi-year trends, multi-year trends, multi-year trends. Awesome. So I'll make sure to send this out. My goal, again, challenge you enough and plant a seed to make you think. Because if I make you think, it'll create action. And if you create action, you'll see results, right? So the reason why I bring up some of this data and show you some of this stuff is to make you think, to create action, so that you can create action to change your life in order to change your income, to change your trajectory for 2022. Cool. All right, Joni Reed, Sheriff Reed, who was wearing her sheriff's badge at the party on Friday night, making sure everybody was in line. What do these guys need to know as it relates to their fiduciary responsibility and reminding them that they are not attorneys?
Good morning, everybody. That was a great party Friday. Yeah, this is a reminder. It's really hard. Sometimes it's a very gray line about legal advice and non-legal advice. But the state of Wisconsin is sort of unique in that we are not a lawyer state, such as the state of Illinois, where lawyers pretty much take over the transaction. We really are in charge of the transaction with our clients, but the State Bar of Wisconsin has said you can practice law if you stay within the confines of our contracts. You can't go beyond the contracts and say that. So we are not attorneys. Well, most of us are not attorneys. So where you need to go or help your client go for attorney advice is, this is a little known resource that the WRA has put out, the State Bar actually has put out, and it's for your buyer or seller. A lot of times when there's a issue that's looming that is something that is going beyond our contract negotiations, you can advise your buyer or seller to go to this site. It's called the State Bar Lawyer and Information Service. They talk to a legal assistant first to find out who would be a good attorney to talk to, and then your client would be referred to an attorney who has experience in this dispute. They will charge no more than $20 for the first consultation, up to a half hour, but at least it's a very inexpensive way for your client to get legal advice rather than trying to get it out of you. So I put the contact information there. The State Bar is watching us and making sure that we don't practice law outside of our contracts. So this is a good place when your client says, well, I can't afford an attorney. I don't need an attorney. And you're kind of stuck because you may know the answer, but you may not advise your answer. So for us as agents, we have a resource that we can go to, next slide, please. We can go to the hotline, the legal hotline, and that's staffed by 3 attorneys, Corey Lamont and others. Carol Kriegbaum, I think, is also on that line. And we can ask questions for ourselves about what would be the legal situation in this, calling about a contract question that you may have. They will give you a very cover their butt answer, but it is also a good resource for you to listen to sort of the options or the legal choices that your client may have. But it also explains a lot to them. If you're calling our hotline, Andy and Steph, or calling me or Steph on these questions, we can't give you a legal opinion either, obviously, but we can tell you where you're in a situation where probably your client needs to reach out to an attorney, or you need to call the hotline to get some clear explanation. Some of our clients get very demanding and want us as agents to solve their problem because they don't want to spend the money to contact an attorney. And I had a recent conversation with Carol Kriegbaum, who's a local attorney, and she said, literally, the money they save in hiring an attorney for consultation or representation can save them actually a lot of money. So please don't try to solve the problem on your own. So if you go to the next slide, one thing you can do is ask them if they know a real estate attorney. A lot of times people know an attorney, their brother-in-law is an attorney and such, but if they're not a real estate attorney, that attorney may not be giving the most direct advice. They may be giving good general advice, but it's best to contact or talk for your client to talk to a real estate attorney. And you're not the one that's really directly dealing with the attorney, your client would be. And so make sure that anytime you call your client's attorney sometimes is charging your client for your conversation. So always ask permission from your client if you can talk to their attorney, but don't do it directly on your own. So sometimes they can just get that, go back to that last one. Sometimes they can get it with just a consultation fee. Sometimes they actually need to hire an attorney, but it is a good protection for your client and you and Keller Williams.
Yeah, Joan, one thing I
mhm.
just remind the group, and we've had situations where I think people were a little confused as it relates to their fiduciary responsibility. And if you get contacted by an attorney, you have zero, you don't have the skill set to negotiate with, let's say, the other opposing side's attorney, and you put yourself in grave liability risk if you are negotiating on your client's behalf with another attorney. If you get an attorney reach out to you coming after one of your clients, it is our advice that you make sure that your client seeks legal assistance.
Right, and that's what I've said there. There have been so many times an attorney for the other side will literally give you a call as their agent or send you a letter because you're the agent of them. And as Charlie said, don't respond directly to that attorney's letter. Ask that your that your client get an attorney, but call us first. We can find out some answers for you, maybe give you a referral to a good attorney, but do not respond to an attorney's letter or call or anything from the other side. And we have some good recommendations. So remember, and I keep hearing this, and I just want to give you a heads up. Remember, you're only following the wording that's in our contracts. That's all we're allowed to work with. That's all we're allowed to advise our clients with is our contract only and the wording in it. And a lot of times the wording in our contracts is vague, and it's vague on purpose because some of these issues should be handled in a court. And so that's why they don't really give you all definitive either or answers in our contracts. So, but I just want to make sure that you're not saying, and I've heard it said, don't worry, you'll get your earnest money back. That's no problem. You can't say that. That's actually legal advice. Don't worry, you can get out of this contract. We've got this and this. Don't say that. That's too definitive and it's not following the wording in the contract. Don't worry, the dates are not important. Dates are very important, and they're emphasized many times throughout the contracts that we use. And the one thing that really makes me nervous is when you say, don't worry, I'll take care of it. I'll do it. Don't worry. Don't. So don't give veiled legal advice. Call Steph, me, or the hotline for some direction, or call the WRA hotline, or ask your clients if they have an attorney. So the last slide, I want to emphasize, this comes up quite a bit. Once there is a closing, we as the agent or representing our firm, Keller Williams, we cannot assist or advise our client who has already closed on the transaction. And this is really hard to do sometimes because you've been helping your client through this whole process, going through closing, everything like that. And they get into the house and weeks or months or years later, a big problem pops up and they're complaining and they want to get in touch with the seller, the previous seller. And you basically have no role in this at all. You just have to say, I'm sorry, but this is dispute is between you and the previous seller, and maybe contact an attorney or try to resolve it with the previous owner, but only for your clients. You have no role. Please step back and do not try to help in this point, because any help you're doing is sort of legal assistance help. So any questions about that, call us. Steph and I talk about this a lot on our phone calls that we get from you. And I'm sure Andy and Stephanie reach these calls too. So it's just a reminder for today.
Joni, Sheriff Reed, thank you, guys. She is here covering your backside to make sure that we all stay out of trouble. If we learned anything in 2021, the competitive nature in the market has also created a very litigious nature of the market. And so we want to make sure that we're protecting your licenses and your ability to continue to earn an income in this business. Thanks, Sheriff Reed. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
One last thing, guys, as a reminder, if you have not paid your GMAR dues, you now owe $50 more because it is past December 1st. It amazes me that we reach out to people and people get upset of why we're telling them they owe $50 more. And we say, listen, it's the association, it's not us. So make sure you get your GMAR dues. And remember, don't shoot the messenger. We're just trying to help you make sure that you can sell homes beginning in January of 2022. Sound good? All right. Wooten, lead us away. We got two more things, upcoming training and events with some great stuff coming up this week. And then I'll finish with a grocery store script of the market of the moment. All right, Wooten, what do we got?
Good morning. So today, after team meeting, we have launch, and special guests Connie and Janine will be talking about how to have successful open houses with their scripts for open houses. So make sure you come to launch today. And then next slide, Charlie. Coming up this week, we have tomorrow at 10 a.m. in Lake Country, Diana will be holding a business plan review. So bring your business plans and just have an open discussion about how to start to enact your business plan for next year. And then also tomorrow, one last reminder, North Shore Vision Boards with Maureen at 11 a.m. We've thrown out the RSVP a couple of times, so please make sure that you have done your vision boards for next year, because if you don't have your vision done, how will you know if your goals are big enough?
What a great way to do a bold 100 at the same time building your vision board. So you say, if I want that new red Mercedes convertible, Connie Cummings, I got to get my lead generation done, right?
And then just a plug for next week, Abby Wall is going to be taking us through how to start an investment business. So that's going to be next Wednesday, the 15th at 1 p.m. She'll be in the North Shore office, and also we'll have her on Zoom. Guys, Ignite starting January 10th. You can find the registration link on the training calendars on the website and on Facebook. It's going to be in the Wauwatosa office. There's 10 classes. Each class runs from 9 a.m. to about 12:30 in the afternoon. This is a general calendar of all the dates and what the sessions will cover, but everything that you need to help you build a really successful career. So make sure you're coming to Ignite.
Guys, there's only 24 seats in Ignite. Come grab it before it's gone. And I will tell you, having taught Ignite for 5 years, many people come into Ignite, not just new folks, but people who've been in the business who need to reset their foundation and maybe shore up their core.
Updated material.
And it is updated material. Don't miss it.
And then, guys, we only have until December 10th to get our Toys for Tots donated. So there are donation boxes at each location. Please bring a new unwrapped toy for the tots.
Sweet. Wooten, thank you. Guys, tomorrow, tons of opportunity to build your business, lead generation, bold 100, vision boards, or if you want to review your business plan with Lake Country or with Diana, visit her in Lake Country tomorrow morning. All right, here you go. Wrapping it up for the grocery store script of the market of the moment. And I'm going to show you this in a very condensed version. Okay, here's what you need to know. Showing activity, I'm looking at this and monitoring this on a weekly basis. Why? Because it helps us give us an indication of what the first quarter is going to do. Here's what we know. 2021 is ending very similar to 2020 as it relates to buyer activity in the marketplace. So I am predicting continued strong buyer activity heading into Q1. Now, here's an interesting slide that I threw together for you guys this week to look at everything on one page. And there's three things going on here. First, the red line as it relates to the trend line is the new inventory trend line by week on a units perspective. The green line is the closed units trend line by week. And the blue line is the units going under contract on a trend line by week. Here's what I've noticed. What do you see? Closed units from a trend perspective has remained pretty stable. Units going under contract, again, we're going to see a dip because Thanksgiving week is always a dip. It's been pretty stable over the last 24 weeks as it relates to units going under contract. However, notice the one trend line that has taken a drastic turn in the last 12 weeks. That would be new inventory units. And as new inventory units fall, what drags everything else with it? Units under contract and closed units. My point being in all of this is buyer activity remains high, sales absorption rates remain high, new inventory is now pulling on total inventory, which is setting us up for a Q1, which I predict to be very similar to last year. So I'm preparing you as we head into January that you're setting yourself up for what could be a potentially very competitive Q1 and Q2 heading into 2022 based on the trend lines that are pulling on our total inventory, which is going to create a very competitive market. So your market of the moment script, and I kind of cleaned this up for you guys. Buyer activity remains strong, right? Sales rates are on par with what we saw in the summer. It's an indication of demand. New inventory, which has dropped off dramatically, which is putting pressure on total inventory as a whole, net. Market is trending towards a competitive spring of 2022. So when you run into someone at the grocery store or you're having a beer with someone and they say, tell me about the market, should I sell today or should I sell next year when it's really competitive? The truth is, when's the best time to sell? Today, because inventory is falling and buyer activity remains strong. Now, if you're in the buyer market and you have buyer people who have been a little bit worn out and they're thinking about maybe renting again for another year, when's the best time to buy? Today, because spring 2022 looks to be incredibly competitive. So when's the time to get into a home? Today. There you go. The market of the moment. Guys, think about your business in 2022 and how you plan to set yourself up for your lead metrics to create a balanced approach. And if there's anything you need to be successful, don't hesitate to reach out because we're here to support you. Guys, thanks for showing up. Lake Country crew, I'll let you jump over to the Lake Country meetup. North Shore and Tosa crew, I will flip over to new listings. Guys, have a great week.